Well, a former East Tennessee preacher has been indicted on charges of fraud and money laundering.
Yeah, for years, several years, we've been following the story of Roger Williams and the investment ventures he operated. WATE 6 on your side investigative reporter Don Dare, who broke the story back in 2014, has this update.
The government says from 2001 and continuing through the summer of 2014, Roger Williams knowingly and with intent cheated people who had invested in ventures that he solely operated. The government alleges in its indictment that Williams laundered money, caused his investors to file false tax forms, and he participated in mail fraud. Williams has been back and forth to court several times. Soon he'll be heading there once again. As former investment manager Roger Williams left federal court March 6th, he had 2 weeks to decide whether to withdraw his guilty plea, enter November 7th of last year, or move to a trial. Williams withdrew the plea. He's now been indicted. Williams was scheduled to be formally sentenced in Knoxville last month, but Judge Pamela Reeves said at the time she was distressed when she read victim statements about the amount of money misappropriated. Judge Reeves said she could not accept Williams' plea agreement of 51 months worked out by the government and Williams' attorney.
The whole picture changed. There was lack of correspondence.
In the summer of 2014, we reported how Dr. Scott Parson invested in Dash Holdings, how Williams wrote in this note the money was flowing. But Dr. Parson said when he tried to pull cash from his investment, he couldn't get it.
The last statement I got says I had $142,000.
When David and Lillian Robertson went to withdraw their money from Dash Holdings, they told us in June 2014, Williams said money was short. He could only give them a couple of $100. The indictment says through Open Door Investment and Dash Holdings, Williams, under false pretense, misappropriated and converted investors' hard-earned money for his personal benefit.
He cheated a bunch of people out of their money, and I don't...
And you're one of them.
Yeah.
The federal indictment says Williams, a preacher at a church outside of Gatlinburg, falsely and fraudulently solicited contributions from victims who believed they were paying off the church debt. But the government claims Williams used the money for his personal use.
These right here.
Nearly 3 years ago, Jimmy Vineyard showed us materials mailed by Williams inviting the Korean War veteran to invest more money into Dash Holdings and Open Door Investment Club.
He kept giving me more interest on it once I got in there. You know, he kept giving me more interest. It was 16-point-something% when we started.
But Mr. Vineyard said when he tried to withdraw cash to care for his terminally ill wife, he couldn't get a penny out of the $400,000 he had entrusted to Williams.
The franchise investment that we had with them has been dried up.
But you were their investor.
Well,
in 2014, Williams said he did nothing wrong, that his investors took a risk, and he was not responsible for the failure of those funds. At the time of this interview, the government's investigation was just underway. Then last November, Williams struck a deal, waived his rights, and pleaded guilty to mail fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of federal taxes. He agreed to a 51-month sentence. Without the plea, he faced 20 years in prison. 4 years and 3 months. What did you think of that?
I think it's a raw deal.
Former investors Gerald and Judy Perkins were disappointed last November with the agreement struck by Williams and the government.
Well, I wish he had gotten longer sentence. You know, I don't feel like it done justice.
The grand jury indictment charges Williams with mail fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of administration of federal tax. The charge claims because he was a man of God, Williams lulled people into a false sense of security.
He hurt a lot of people.
Hurt a lot of people. The next time Williams appears in court, he'll be arraigned and will plead to the information in the indictment. Now, no date has been set yet for Williams' arraignment. He remains free tonight. Many of his former investors will watch the case closely because they lost close to $2 million. That's a revised figure highlighted in the indictment. And Lori and Ryan, the indictment says if he is convicted, any money he owes, any property he owns will be forfeited. And by the way, Jimmy Vineyard died last year.
I remember him so well. Yeah. He was so upset, and it really was heart-wrenching. And he called you really almost up until the end.
Yeah, he did. Just a month before he died, he in fact was in the office talking to me.
All right, Don.
Yeah, thanks, Don.